slow motion lightning talk. So, my guess is that most of you have probably undergo at least one interview. Hands up who has no interview in his life. Is there somebody who has no job? Or okay, nice, everybody has a job, good. I will be talking about the interview from the point of view of the interview, of the person who is interviewing. So this might be quite interesting. Who of you was on the other side of the table? Who was interviewing people? Okay, also some people. I would love if you come to me after the talk, we can chat, we can argue about what is the right way to do. So this will be interesting from both sides, I hope. Disclaimer, hiring is subjective, although companies try to tell you it's not, it's highly subjective. And opinions here are mine and not the companies I hired for. I was a happy corporate rat once, and now I'm not. And I was hiring mainly for embedded developers, full stack, so everything from almost assembler to front-end in JavaScript and React.js. So people with broad knowledge. Hiring is a touchy subject, as I said. So, yeah. The process might look simple. You have HR, which get influx of CVs. They make some calls, they call to people, they fill out some clearly people who should not ask to join the company. Then after the first filter is then lead calls people and checks if there are at least some traces of competency of being able to program. Then you invite those people who have some traces of the ability to the interview, where you have a lead with some technical person, technical sidekick, and they do the real interview. And at the end, the interviewee goes home and decision is made. Decision is made to either immediately hire the person because the person was so good, or we shortlist the person because we have a couple of people in the pipeline and we want to check if there is somebody better, or we already know that this is not the right person and we send rejection after a couple of days. So, and usually we would not send emails right away unless we really want to hire the person. Even the rejection we send after a week. You don't want to be too quick. It might hurt some feelings. So it looks simple, but it's not really simple. It's really hard to hire people, and it is really hard to judge if somebody is a good fit for your team, for a company, in a really short time, which the interview is, and with just looking at the CV. So there is a lot of shortcuts you have to make. There is you cannot really prolong the interview because people hate being too long on the interview. They hate being on the multi-level interviews. So you cannot really do that. You would also filter out some really good candidates who don't want to go through that. So you have to make your decision in short time, and it's there is a lot of overhead to it as well. So you go to the interview, when you're interviewing, you spend there a couple of hours, you go home, and that's it for you. But for the people doing the interviewing, it's man hours, a lot of time on HR side, a lot of time on interview side. You have maybe 15 interviews, so it is man weeks per position. So think about that, and the important thing about that is it is really expensive for companies to make a bad decision on hiring somebody. So companies are trying to optimize out the false positives. You really don't want to hire a bad person in your team because it takes a lot of time to go through the interview process, wait for the person to give his resignation or hers, and so it's like 5 months, 6 months till you know if the person is right, because after they join your company, it takes time to know whether it was a good decision or not. So it's, let's say, 6 months maybe, and a lot of money. You have to pay the recruiter fee, that's a lot of money as well. And yeah, you don't want that. On the other hand, false negative, that's not that bad. You maybe lose some good candidates, but it's much less money and time lost than hiring a bad one. So think about that. If you get rejection, you think it's a bad decision on the company side, you might be a false positive. That happens. That's life. So try to not think about yourself that you are bad, you are weak. You might be a false positive case. Happens. So the interview structure. This is just an example. You have some small talk at the beginning, how long it took you to get here, how is your day today. Then we usually had some company introduction, because sometimes people come really unprepared. They come from a recruiter and they don't even know the name of the company sometimes, so you have to get them up to speed. Some project and team introduction. When you finally get a little bit more honest information, other than advertisement in the job description online, because everybody has nice code bases and modern technologies and everything, and then you come to the interview, and we can tone that down a little and tell you a little bit more about what's going on. You are taking on a project that is 20 years old or something, so yeah, that happens there, not on the web page probably. Then we go on the behavioral part, technical part, questions, quick English check if the company needs that, and Q&A from your side, what benefits would we have, and how much money you want for your soul. So yeah, that's the usual stuff. The interesting part is the behavioral questions. It's basically, they are designed to trick you into telling us truth about yourself. The idea behind it is that we will pin a question or answer to a question to a certain situation, yeah? And it makes harder for you to lie about it. So we ask you, tell us about a situation where you came up with a different solution than your colleague. And you will think about the situation and start telling something, and we have some follow-up questions, and it's hard to lie about it. And we can discover that you always have to be right, and you never ever would let somebody else to win on some argument. And then we don't want to, because you will be working with people, and those people will have to work with you, and we don't want to be in a situation where the whole team will say, oh, either that person goes or we go. And this situation can happen, you don't want them to happen, and this is why the behavioral questions are here. Of course, some people can lie, but it's all game of numbers. So we also ask how you like to work, how you like to structure your day, and with what you want to work, and also on the other hand, what are things you want to avoid. If you would tell us, I hate working with people, then again, no. If you tell us, I love working on Windows, then sorry, my embedded team, when we all have Linux, you probably will not be a good fit. But this is the time where you should be honest about what you want, because you don't want to join a company and discover after 2 months that you don't want to work there. Huh? Of course, there are situations you might need money for life, so then lie, and that's, yes, people do that all the time. Then we have soft technical questions, which are, and we are easing into that from the behavioral part. So we are asking about what you think was impactful from your side. We are asking some of your accomplishments that you have done. We are asking what are the size of the code base, because you don't want you to run screaming after seeing our 2 million lines of code after you have been working on, I don't know, 20K small code base for real-time operating system device. So we want you all discover all of that. I also asked what you like or dislike about C++, what is your favorite feature, because you should know that. If you are not just a coder, but a software engineer who likes to work with C++, who is a craftsman, and you have some favorite tools, of course, as a craftsman. So I want to know if you are a craftsman or a coder. And then we will continue with real C++ questions, which are really designed to be relatively simple to answer at first, but we can go into follow-ups. And I really, on the interview, I would care about your understanding of the language, of the basic tools in the language, because a lot of people, frankly, don't understand them. They just code and hope that it compiles, and if it compiles, they check if it runs, and if it runs, they ship it. So that's, a lot of people do that, unfortunately. So I want to optimize those people out. Of course, the goal is not to belittle people. The goal is to keep them calm during the interview, because if you stress people out during the interview, you are introducing a lot of noise into your results. Because I don't really need to know if you are able to program C++ under enemy fire. We are not in that. You will be sitting in an office with AC, and it will not be like that. So, and people get nervous on the interviews, obviously. So what I was always trying was to keep people calm during the interview. And we will go into follow-up. So it's and the questions. So some questions. This is why you are here for, probably. So a difference between reference and a pointer. That's a simple one. A lot of people cannot really answer that, but it's a simple one. How it is implemented, how it works in background. Can you reassign the reference? Who thinks you can reassign the reference? Yes, you're right. Why would a non-psychopath person do that? I don't know either, but you can do that when you try hard enough in some cases. So, yeah. And this is the kind of things we would ask. What is const? What it good and what it is good for? Do you use const? Do you like using const? Why you are not using const? Yeah, so it's and we will go deeper and deeper. Difference between set vector and set list. When? Yeah, list is faster. No. Why is list almost always slower? How the memory line looks like. So based on how the person is doing in the interview, we will go deeper and deeper. If the person is not doing well, we will not go deeper because we don't want to belittle people. And we would also tell them, we will explain them things they don't understand. So the intention was to for them to leave the interview smarter than they entered the interview, so they have a good feeling about the company, and maybe they will tell friends about, yeah, they did not send me an offer, but they were really cool. So that was the intention behind that. Then we would go to a little bit more interesting questions. For example, we discuss stack versus heap, how it works, what are the performance impacts on calling a lot of allocations, what are the size limitations on the stack. Maybe you are on a really small CPU, so you don't really have big stack. So it's an interesting thing. vtable, how the virtual kind of function calling works. How many of you, what is the vtable and how it really works in the background? Yeah. So this is kind of question that would tell us what you know, but I would not expect everybody who we would hire to know the answer. Based on what position we are hiring for, maybe we are hiring for junior, maybe we are hiring for senior, so we would not expect everybody to know that. And I was also telling that in the beginning of the interview, I don't expect you to know all of the answers. Then we have a really nice part that everybody here loves, right? Whiteboarding. Programming on a whiteboard. I hate it, even from the interview position, but I found that we really have to do something, at least something, because some people are able to pass the first pass quite well, but they are not able to do even simple code on the whiteboard, but on the interview. And sometimes this can happen. You have people who have 10 years of experience, but they have been working in some specialized tool, and they don't really know how to write code anymore. But they have lots of experience, they can talk about it, but they don't know how to write. So we would tell them that we have really easy problems. They don't have to come up with super nice solutions, just first thing that came to their mind, and that is it. So first example is a FizzBuzz. This is something that is quite common in the world. but a lot of people still haven't heard about this. Who knows this? So it's about half of the people here have heard of this bus. So it's a nice thing to test. It just tests if you can write basic form. And I mean, on the interview, when everybody is stressed out, I think that's already quite hard for some people, of course. Some people work nicely under the stress, but I don't really care if you work nicely under the stress or not. Yeah? I don't want to introduce noise into my results. So I don't want to only keep people who work nicely under the stress. So I have to integrate all of the results from all of the parts of the test to decide whether the person is good or bad. So solution for this, of course, if you search for FizzBuzz Enterprise Edition, even simpler problems can have really complex solutions in Java. With dozens of classes, dozens of files, complicated build systems and test cases and everything. So search for that, it is fun, people are still adding to that. So solution, simple, it's for a couple of ifs, and I don't really care if you do it 100% right on the interview. I just want to see you thinking, and I want to see you coming up with some solution and then getting to the right one at the end. When you got this, I would ask you about how to optimize this. We need to have a scalable solution, and I want to have 1 to 5 billion. I want to bring a 1 to 5 billion as fast as possible. What would you do with this code? Looking at that, STD count, we have, I have slash and then, but people would usually come up with STD end of the line, which flushes the buffer, which takes a lot of time. So yeah, we will go from that. Next nice example is recursion. You have leaf that has vector of leaves, it has a value right up a sum. This one was really hard. It's sad, but it was really hard for a lot of people. The solution to that one is like 4 lines of code. It's not the best solution, but it's what we asked for, the simplest one, and yeah, a lot of people cannot write for if their life would depend on it. So that's why probably. This is a lightning talk, a slow lightning talk, but have not fit. I was hiring for embedded developers with broad know-how. So I had networking questions, Linux questions, build process questions, how you can speed up your build, right? Architecture questions, embedded specific questions, front-end developer, if you can use Git, that was a thing back then when people could not really use Git. So how good are you with Git? Can you do Git interactive rebase or not? Some people cannot, some people can. You want to have at least one person who can do that on the team. Yeah. Because somebody has to clean up a mess from other people. Tips. There is usually a QA session in the interview, and they let you ask questions to them. Please use that. Ask, because that's one of the only points where you can figure out if the company is right or not for you. You can ask them if the interviewer is happy in the company. That would be a nice question to get. What operating systems can you use? Maybe you are a Mac OS person and you want to use Mac, but they are only Windows shop. Yeah, so ask, because you might figure that out on the day you join, and that is late. Yeah. What hardware you will get? Maybe you don't want to work in a company that will give you 2 22-inch monitors. That can also happen, because they want to cheap out on the developers that cost them like 100 euros per hour, but they give them small monitors. That doesn't make sense, and you might not want to work for that company. Maybe ask for how heavy are the processes. You don't want to work in a really heavy agile shop where you have stand-ups. That takes 1 hour. And salary. This is an important. I apologize to all the people who are hiring, but for you guys who are interviewing, ask for the most money you think you can get, because usually in big corporations you will not get rises that are significant. So what you will not ask at the beginning, you will not get in the end, and you will have to switch jobs. So ask for more. They will give you if they can. They usually don't care. The people at the interview don't really care that much about how much money you will get. they have a band and they will put you in that band. So that's it. And I don't know if you have time for a short Q&A or just catch me up later after the talk. I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to argue about what is the best way to interview people. It's there is everybody has a different. I have time. Amazing. Questions.
So you mentioned also the IDE and the craftsmanship. So what if a person say, I use NeoVim by the way, right away?
What you use?
So if the guy who you are interviewing says that he uses NeoVim, will you hire him right away or not?
Depends on the other things, but I use Vim, also or NeoVim depending on the machine. So I would be happy. I would be more inclined to hire that person.
Cool. Okay.
Next question. It shows that you love your tools. That's an important thing. Not because you are using Vim, but because you love your tools. It kind of tells me that you are a craftsman.
Yeah, it's about efficiency and love it.
Okay, more questions? I don't work for a corporation, I can be honest.
Do you prefer live coding or home assessment?
Live coding, home assessment, right now, exactly, you cannot do that. AI, everybody will just don't use home assessment. And it sucks because they have to spend time at home. So I will rather do a really short and simple example in the interview than giving something longer for home assignment because it's unpaid work for people and a friend can write that for them, you never know. I helped a friend write the code for home assignment interview, so it's, yeah, it's just, I don't see a value in that. It would go straight to Vim.
Well, if I can share an anecdote, we recently had a guy who filled his whole home assignment with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And then he was completely unable to explain the code whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it was a very effective filter for
Yeah, but it was, imagine you would have a person who would be semi-capable and the person would be able to explain it after. We would put an effort into understanding what is there and he would be able to tell you something about it.
Isn't that the guy you want to hire in this day and age?
I don't know, not really. I would say it's not an information that is important to me at the time. Yeah, because that would be like a low bar for me. That's everybody needs to pass that to go intercamping, and I think a simple for loop on the interview when the stress level is high gives me a similar level of indication if the person is able to code something. So it's. And also the questions that we will talk about architecture and other things. So I don't think it would improve the quality of data I get too much to make up for the cost of me going through that code and of that person producing the code. But it depends who are you hiring. For us, C++ was only a part of the things the person had to know. There was a question.
Maybe the question, if you mentioned it, but how important are for you the questions regarding the clean code or clean architecture for average C++ developer?
Yeah, I would, well, not the clean code per se, the book. I would argue with some of the points, but I would like to hear that nice and simple code is important for you. I would rather hear that you prefer really simple, straightforward code than mainly, but it's hard to go to that on the interview. So this is one of the things I would have to take a leap of faith. And yeah, you cannot do right decision every time on every interview. So it's, as I said, little time, and you need months to know if the person is really right after you hire them.
Could you give an example where the whiteboard interview was really helpful?
It's a high-pass filter. So if you fail the BizBuzz, I know it's not really going to work out for us. It's not really something that will tell me, yes, this is the right person. Maybe with the follow-up, if you are able to tell me what are the problems with your live implementation, if you know that the STD handler is flashing, that's a nice point. If you can talk about how you would optimize it to just be like one print per batch of numbers. That would be also a plus point. So it would be nice. With the recursion, that also optimization would give me some indication. But yeah.
Oh, so you suggest doing the FizzBuzz on the whiteboard?
Yes, that's enough. Like it's couple of ifs, and usually people are used to some IDE, and they would not have it on the interview. You are used to some type of keyboard. I mean, I write on mechanical keyboard, and when I have to write on notebook, I'm just angry. So I think the whiteboard is equalizer. So everybody has equally bad experience with that. So it's equal.
Have you ever asked, for example, when you are the subject in school or the marks being got in the faculty? Or doesn't matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's like if you got your bachelor's degree or master degrees, I mean that's a plus. If you have praxis, that would be like weighting against that. That's also plus. So it's yeah. But I don't really care about if you had a red diploma or not.
What kind of experiences in the CV would you value more than others?
Well, of course, we were hiring for embedded, so embedded in our case. So I would be looking for something similar. If you would have some matches like you were doing embedded and networking, that would be good for some of the projects we had. So
Maybe more in general, not just specifically to embedded hiring, but in general C++ hiring, what kind of experiences would you look for in an ideal candidate?
That depends because we really had people coming from all of the directions. So
Open source, for example?
of course, yeah, we would also ask if you have a GitHub, what you're doing in your home time, that would be interesting. So if you are doing something at home or something for open source, if you have, I don't know, library or something, that is a thing to mention, of course, and we would be asking for that, and that's a plus. So if you are willing to go and show your things outside, that's a good thing. But of course, it's not needed, and majority of the people didn't really have any.
Regarding like professional experiences, are there like fields that you would have value more highly if you like had two CVs next to each other and both had the same amount of like years of experience, but in different fields? For example, one would be, I don't know, financial role, another one would be some, I don't know, SpaceX guy.
Depends where you're applying.
Yeah, depends also what position are you hiring for, but I don't really, because in Brno there is a lot of small companies, so just from the company name you don't know what they were really doing. So we would ask them to explain us what they were doing, what were their role, what were their accomplishments in that job, and it's really, we don't care if this is basics or something else, because I don't know, people always say Google is the best, but it's a lot of bad people work in Google, and one of the worst person, or one not really capable person is working now in Apple. So I don't really care if you work in Apple or in some small Brno company. It doesn't tell me much. Okay. So if you want to ask more, approach me. I need to quit, or otherwise I will get hit by something. Thanks, everybody.